You're watching Good Day Central Illinois on WYZZ.
Welcome back to Good Day Central Illinois. Election season is almost upon us, and it can be quite stressful for everybody. So this morning we have Dr. Brian Curtis here to talk about how we can manage our mental health during election season. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. All right, so how many Americans are feeling anxious about the upcoming election?
Oh, gosh. So one survey shows about 70% of people are anxious about this. And then another survey says that about 40% are anxious and depressed. And then 40% of people have just turned it off. You know, they've kind of detached and aren't even engaging.
Makes sense. I mean, it is a stressful time, but is there specific parts about the election that are causing that stress?
You know, a lot of it's just the unknown, right? And so you don't know what's going to happen on the other side. And so there's a lot of fear, and then that drives the anxiety. And that's kind of the story of life, right? It's just that depending upon what you're watching and what you're engaging with, it will depend on how they're stoking that anxiety within you.
Well, so going off of that, what are some of those ways that we can lessen that stress and make it so we can go through election season with good mental health?
Yeah. Well, I hate to say it, right? You may not watch as much news, but you know, maybe detach a little bit and not just rely on one source, right? And so, you know, all these social media and news programs are designed to keep you in, and so they tend to feed what you want to hear. And so, but that then slants you and makes you more anxious. And so really kind of get a broad sampling of material.
I feel like another way that we kind of get stuck in that election loop is just scrolling on social media. How do we eliminate that from our lives? Because like for me, social media is everything because it's work, it's, you know, it's everything.
Yeah, it's kind of that death scroll, right? And so one is really just put it down. You know, set timers on your phone or whatever, and just walk away from it. The other one would be I would not engage in conversation with anybody on social media. You know, it's like that meme where they show the two dogs barking on each side of the fence and they open the gate, then they're fine. You know, and so it just is not it's not a worthwhile conversation. You're not going to gain anything. You're not going to change anybody's mind.
That's very true. I was going to say, like, what do we do if you disagree with somebody, but you want to have that conversation? Because politics is something that should be discussed, but also it has its limits.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I think it comes to the point that, you know, that you have a connection, right? So we have a connection, but we can agree to disagree. You can have your viewpoint, I can have my viewpoint. It doesn't make me a bad person, it doesn't make you a bad person. And so we have to start respecting each other and their values.
So are there any other outlets to stay informed about elections without using social media or other anxiety traps, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, there's some websites that you can go through that will show candidates' platforms and stuff like that so that you can read through what their platforms are, kind of avoid the decisiveness that people are doing and trying to separate us a little bit, and become informed on what their policies are and what their thoughts are and what their record is. I think that's kind of the best way to do it.
All right, so before we go, let's do a rundown really quickly of what those three main things you should do are to kind of get out of that anxiety you know, mindset.
One, varied news sources or varied information sources. One, detached from social media. And number three, have that in-person conversation. And then probably maybe number four, you know, walk away, go for a walk, de-stress. You know, we have enough stress in our lives without adding this to it.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, well, thank you so much for those tips, Dr. Curtis, of course. And we will make sure to share all of those details up on our website, ciproud.com.